the stream while I try to figure this out. I guess I'll just have to expose myself to the memes of the chat. And I'm sure there'll be many. You can't get anything out of Duel, unfortunately. Spoken or otherwise. Which is a bit disappointing. Everybody wants their champion to teach us the way of the game. Well, see, Dobricious is waiting, and Dobricious has to be satisfied, or you know, he's gonna baby rage. So yeah, I guess Duel could just jump into chat if he isn't in already. I've got him on Discord. Make myself louder. I don't know. I don't know why you say I'm not loud. When I was listening to the stream while the delay was catching up, it sounded pretty loud to me. So I don't know what else I can do for you. Are you sure your volume is turned up? Does anyone else think it's quiet? I know someone said it's typical fuzz quiet, but I mean, is it like... You know what I mean. Well, just turn up the volume on Twitch. That's what I did. Okay, Duel, let's do Skype then. If Twitch isn't gonna work, then just do Skype. Wait, I don't have you? Apparently I don't have Duel on Skype, which is weird. I don't know if you guys can hear the Skype thing, but...
Hello?
Oh my god, it works!
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why. Discord just doesn't like my microphone, my computer microphone.
I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I might need to like have it in a different browser. I don't know if also being in Firefox does anything, but it should still work. I mean, it's not Chrome, but anyway.
Well
right.
done. What is it, like your third or fourth? I've lost count.
Third. So now I'm tied with Riddenriet.
Well, we'll see who reaches 4 first. Well, the chat awaits their champion, so I'll give you the floor.
Well, I mean, what I ended up running was something similar to what I've won my other Masters with. I just picked Rage Dominion's Ash this time with some tweaks to get around Molten Passageway being changed. And then I ran my Wisdom Corruption control deck. And then instead of Valor, I picked Priests in order to, just because it's an anti-aggro lineup, and Priests being able to have Holy Radiant, second mode Holy Radiance and Arrow Barrage. Although it was very clear how much worse that deck was than Valor in terms of just running out of gas.
When you were battling Smoke, I thought, man, why doesn't he have Holy Radiance?
Yeah,
It would have
I mean,
cleaned you out.
yeah, I was pretty surprised seeing it when I played my first dwarf guy. I was like, oh, we've got Touch of Light, and we've got Arrow Barrages, and we've got Array and guards. I was kind of hoping he'd have guards that turn because I could snipe it out of his hand, but then I had to think about if I wanted the Arrow Barrage or the guards because guards is like the better card, but Arrow Barrage is like his only way to control my board, really.
Well, we still gotta give him credit for getting as far as he did. I think his Yetix was banned like every single time.
Yeah. Well, I think he played once because we knew what it was. We knew that was shamans.
Oh, there was shamans yet?
Yeah. So that was really good that I banned it. That I knew that, so I mean, I would have banned it anyway because it's anti-aggro and Yetix is more mid-rangey a lot of the time.
With the spirit shenanigans.
Yeah. Well, with the spirit shenanigans, just being able to use the 3 hero powers is a mid-rangey kind of idea. I actually ended up suggesting that, well, mainly because when actually interesting Maximum Vis was saying that the reason he came up with Yetix was because he wanted 3 hero powers, and I was like, oh, yeah, if we're never going to have a hero power with a standard slot again, why not encourage that? So I actually suggested to Vanguard the 3 hero power, the draw card idea, though I do think that it would be better balanced if it was like 2 cards across the 3 hero powers.
Well, it kind of is, because the first one is not really a card draw because you don't have a hero power to start. So when you draw the first one, it's like you're on even footing with everyone else.
Right, which is why if I did want to make it 2 cards, I'd want the first and third to draw, and then like some combination of life gain in between, but you bump Yetix's starting life total down. That's how I'd want to do it. But that's harder to fit on a card. But yeah, there was a lot more Yetix than I thought that was brought. Like, I actually played around with the book deck. I actually didn't play the book deck very much because I wasn't playing like at all before it got nerfed. But then after it got nerfed, because I knew it was going to get nerfed, then I started trying something, and it was still pretty good, but the 2 mana makes it a lot more, the book itself a lot more funky, but still, like, Dragon's still a good card, your Shrines are still really good, and yeah, so it was a really mid-rangey deck. I didn't ask exactly how well that went for Johto, but it seemed like it was doing well in the stream from what I heard in the background.
Let's see how many. Did he end with 3 or 4? He ended with 3. So couldn't have been too bad. It was still working pretty well for him. Though you don't start getting value really until after your second activation, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, it depends what you're bored, what you're sacking, etc. Because you can just play if you have enough mana, if you have like 5 mana, you can play a 1-drop, sack it, get a thing. So I'm actually, in my version that I was running, I was actually playing a couple of Centuries of the Light, and that's really good, because then you just like put a Might Emblem on something, then you sack it, then you get a Reincarnation Spirit out of your deck for nice 3 mana.
Yeah, sure. And it's just continuous value. And yeah, getting those guys out of your deck is pretty nice, considering that you can play them twice.
Well, more than twice if you shuffle them back with the 2/2 with the Innkeeper.
Although, doesn't the deck struggle with Area of Effect? Because it doesn't seem to have any.
Oh, you mean dealing it out?
Right.
Yeah, soldiers can, just like almost every deck, soldiers can overwhelm you, definitely, with a fast start. I was actually playing 2 Arrow Barrage in my version that I was running, because you can start Dominion, or at least, I didn't play it a ton against people, but at least when I was playing against the AI, it seemed like you could curve with starting Order or Dominion, because you can kind of play like the fast aristocrat beatdown, or you can play the slower like reincarnation. Get your militant citadel to play your reincarnation spirit on 2, and then you can play it again on 3 if it gets killed. So that's a pretty nice value game. And Arrow Barrage is amazing on turn 3. Like, it's one of my favorite, if not my favorite, order card. Just like it looks so innocuous, but it's mainly because of just how good soldiers are. But it's often gets the 2 or 3, 2.5 for 1.
Yeah, it's just that it becomes useless very quickly once the board gets even a little bigger.
Yeah, but at least like once you start hitting the mid game, then you really have a lot of flexibility how you move, because you have mutants, you have your, or at least I had mutants, and you have your assassins that are killing things when they come down, and
yeah, well, Aristocrat can also get kills because it's doing 3 damage, which is usually enough.
Right. Yeah, it's a fun deck, and I'm glad that it's something more encouraged, especially since it's not as oppressive, it seems.
Well, now, yeah, with the book, it's because guards just got cut out of the deck, right? Now that it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So what was it replaced with?
It depends. Like I said, I don't think Jodo was running Sentry, but I just liked it for an earlier board control option sort of thing. So it's people have been, I think, going for different options, which is nice. It's nice to have a deck that doesn't have like a set list, because that's also what like a mid-range deck is going to do better, is that you're going to want that flexibility, so you kind of just like, what do you want to hate out sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. So what was the most exciting game you've had
today?
Yeah.
It was either the game against Smoke or the game against Holyall that you saw, where I was just like, he kept hitting me, Holyall in that game where he kept hitting me with burn spells, and I was just like, I might be dead. Like, he could just like fireball kill me like at any point, because I was at like 6 and below like for a number of turns.
Yeah, I think there was a time where you were at 6 and you could have played a Karthus to kill his guy, but you didn't. But you had lethal anyways. But the thing is, you had 2 fireballs in hand at that time.
Well, then he would have killed me on his. Then he would have killed
you, yeah.
So I figured he didn't have him, because Talyal's not the type to troll in that way.
But he could have. I think he had 1, but he could have top decked another one.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why I thought, well, if you just play the Karthus, you can't lose.
Yeah.
Because he had like a dragon on the board, so he's gonna die next turn anyways.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't. Was it you that made a slight misplay with the priest? I think so. Where I think it was Smoke who attacked you with the ranged guy 3/2, and you could have double blocked and killed this guy, but you only gave him the 0/3 priest, when you could have blocked with that and a 2/3 spell warden.
Oh, that was. Did I?
Yeah. And then, so it would have been a trade. Instead, he just got a free kill. It didn't help him in the end, because you still won that game. But I thought, well, maybe just, in the midst of all the chaos, there's bound to be some mistakes.
Yeah, I must have missed that I had 2 spell wardens available or something like that.
Yeah, there was 1 available to take that hit. But hey, it doesn't matter. You won. It was all planned.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of funny, because on that last turn, I was like, oh, I can, like, basically clean up his board except for the flying guy. And then I was like, oh, wait a minute. I can pump my guys and actually just kill him. So that's Vermilion for you. Just
with that cavalry field top deck? Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a nice top deck.
I mean, I was waiting for a really long time. Like, I had some weird draws with priests. Like, I think I played it like 3 times, and I only drew like 2 temples the entire time or something. It wasn't a lot. It wasn't very much. And then I was having trouble like drawing Gomer. Like, it seems like Priest always has Gomer like on curve for the turn after, and it's like ready to go to kill you. But then actually I might be running 1 less Gomer, but I still had 2, and it was a while before I found one in both of those games. But yeah, was.
I'm
Yeah.
surprised you went for priest because the temple is so weak to innkeeper.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't. The tricky thing is that third deck is always pretty. Like, the only other option I felt like in this kind of lineup would be to run soldiers myself, like run blue soldiers with mortars. But Radiance is very good. Well, yeah, Radiance is a problem, but also Radiance is very good in terms of.
Oh, you want to be able to use the card yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah. It is an amazing board clear.
Because, like, in order to get up on the soldier's mirror, you have to, or in order to get up in the soldier's mirror, you basically have to have the mortar, and it has to actually have relevant targets when you're playing it. So it's not always, while blue soldiers is like good, it's sometimes you don't always draw the best. So, or you don't always get those cards that you're looking to beat other soldier decks. So sometimes you just get out soldiered. But so I was trying to get something closer. And also just kind of, if people were, I kind of had a feeling soldiers would be popular, so I was thinking other people might try to hate on soldiers, although a lot of the ways you hate on soldiers are similar to priests, to be fair. Just red Fire Blast, although Fire Blast isn't as good against you as it is soldiers, so, which is the reason that I was running, again, a Harpy deck and Fire Blast deck to just, triple hate out the soldiers.
Well, you were right. At least your opponent in the finale had a soldiers deck, albeit maybe not as good as it could have been.
Yeah, I mean, Hall Y'all had a soldiers deck. I think one of my first two opponents had a soldiers deck too. So yeah, it was definitely a popular deck.
Yeah, it's got options, but it seems mono is actually playable too because of just how good Radiance is.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Well, I guess I didn't get to play it with something that I normally am really comfortable to play against, playing soldier with, like Wisdom Rage, where you can just clear all the soldiers. But yeah, the Companion of the Heaven can get really annoying, like making all guys. It's like almost like a second tactician that costs.
Yeah, that guy did work. And it's a tactician that the buff doesn't go away when he dies.
Right.
Yeah. Good card. Turns out Valor 3 is pretty good for soldiers.
Yeah. Yeah, as long as your soldiers aren't dying to sweepers, then it's good.
Although, I'm not sure how you get to keep going, because you don't seem to have any gas.
Right. Yeah. It's kind of like Priest. You just gotta rely on your bomb of your... And you have your shrine later, but yeah, it definitely doesn't have the gas that blue soldiers does.
Yeah, and I'm not sure how we could be given more gas. Well, I mean, blue soldiers in theory could also run Companion.
That's true. Though, yeah, I think...
I mean, you just replace Ray with Parallel, you just... What else goes in? Oh, Taimea. Oh, I guess I'm not sure if you want all the cards.
Right. Yeah, because also, like, your Soluxio, if you want to run one of that or something.
Oh, and then there's Mortar.
Mortar, yeah.
But maybe you don't bother with Mortar, then. I'm not sure. Because a Mortar is mostly an anti-aggro card.
That's true, yeah. Yeah. Although, also, because he was playing Night Recruiter, too. So that's better with... Because you get another body to use with.
Yeah, that guy seemed pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, he's not good. He's weaker against other soldiers decks when you have a Stupefy effect, but otherwise he's really good, and he also makes your deck a lot more vulnerable to Fire Blast again. So.
Yeah, his deck had a lot of knights in it. I noticed, like, man, for a soldier deck, it's like a lot of knights. But I imagine if the 0-1 guy was a soldier, that'd be maybe OP.
Yeah, they had enough soldiers. I remember when Temple Guard was a thing, one of the changes, at least, like...
Oh my god,
in addition to something else, I kind of was thinking, like, if you wanted to make a minor tweak while you were going at it, you could change it from a soldier to a knight, just because knights don't have the 2-drop slot, really.
Yeah, that could work, honestly.
But, I mean, they kind of don't need it because they have the 3 drops, but they're kind of forced to do the 3-drop thing with Militant Citadel because they don't have the 2-drops, because it's just Valor Sworn and...
Oh, Valor Sworn isn't very good as a 2-drop.
Right.
It's a 1/1.
It's Valor Sworn and... Is that it? I think there's a second one, but it's... No, is there? Hold on.
Oh, a Knight on 2 mana? On
yeah.
turn 2?
Is there...
I'm pretty sure that's it.
Okay.
It's not that many Knights. In the
they're
game.
like 3 soldiers. That's what it is. That's the stupid thing, was that they're like 3 soldiers on 2.
I think there's 4 now.
9. Oh yeah, 4. Right, because I forgot the Musketeer. Wait.
Yeah, Musketeer, the two 2/2s, the Spellbreaker and the Innkeeper and the
Heavy Infantry.
Yeah, the Heavy Infantry, the one that no one plays now.
Yeah.
Very sad card now.
It's been sad for quite a while.
Power. Oh yeah, but I mean, when there was no competition in that slot, you could conceivably think of running it, but now, like, it's so bad.
Yeah, I remember how kind of funny it was when they took out Dwarven Musketeer because it was too good at the time. Or, like, the order 2-drop with ranged was too good.
Oh, yeah, and Temple. So 5 2-drops that are soldiers.
Temple what? Or
Temple. We forgot to mention Temple Guards. Temple Guard, Musketeer, Heavy Infantry, Spellbreaker, and Innkeeper. That's 5 2-drop soldiers.
Okay, I thought you said 5 before. And you've got Guards. Guards is kind of a...
Yeah.
Soldier.
Yeah, I mean, they could have swapped him to Knight for sure.
I mean, you would have had to do something different, I think, or something additional to that, because otherwise it's just like, well, in Valor decks it doesn't. It's still an easy shielded 3/1 2-speed, but
can't be targeted.
Yeah, can't be targeted. That was nightmarish.
Oh god.
That's how I learned you. Well, maybe that was either that or Burning Rage, but that you can't play Cannonade if they don't have a creature to put an emblem on.
Yeah.
That's awful. But
it was the bane of control decks.
It really was. And it still can do it sometimes. Like, sometimes you could have a soldiers deck that runs 1, and it's just such a good 2-drop because it basically is the same thing, which is fine. It's a hate card now instead of a auto include.
Yeah, it turns out going from 2-speed to 1 is a pretty big deal.
Yeah, I mean, it's the 1 to 2 and 2 to 3, though the jump from...
I mean, the difference is like night and day. And when you look at something like the Zombie Giant is a 4 or 5, but because of its 1 speed, it's like terrible.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's more also because it's a... Well,
Well, I mean, if it was a 2-speed card...
Yeah, if it was a 2-speed... I mean, it'd be a Thunderstorm. It'd be a Thunderstorm Titan with the zombie tag.
With 1 more health, so Hartsford can bring it back.
Okay.
That'd be pretty good.
I was thinking if you just turned into a Thunderstorm Titan that's a zombie. If that... You'd still have Hartsford able to bring it back, and it's still, like, the 4 to 5 HP is, like...
Not that big of a deal.
Really minimal.
Yeah, a lot less than 3 to 4 or 2 to 3.
Certainly. But...
So yeah, the speed drops get more... Like, going from 4 to 3 is generally not that important.
Right. Yeah, it just basically means now you're unblockable. Though it's good in 3-speed combat, obviously. It's always getting that one more stage above everybody else.
2 seems to be like the average speed.
Right. I think that's what they designed in mind, is that 2 is the average. It'd be kind of fun to see the distribution, and then, like, the distribution across competitive cards. But... Yep. So you sad you didn't see any spiders?
Not that sad, but I was wondering if I would, because it seemed like it could work. Either that or the plants. I mean, at least we didn't see anyone play them. I'm not sure if there weren't any. But we just didn't see any.
Nate and I were trying out, or Vanguard and I were trying out Mastery by the Ancients a little bit at the beginning when Book was a thing, and it wasn't amazing. I mean, it's the thing like, oh, your spiders want to aggro, but then you also want to play this card that does nothing on the board. I mean, it makes all your next things reduced, but it's like, then it's almost kind of like a Worse Horizons, and then...
Well, the main card you want to use it with is the Angel, because both of its play boosts cost 1 mana. So you just play it as a 2/2 for 2 mana with both of the bonuses.
Right.
But that isn't primary, sadly.
Right. Yeah. If that that was primary. I could see that potentially being a deck, and then you could throw in like the companion because you're basically playing 2 creatures.
Yeah, and
each
one of them
turn,
is shielded, so
yeah,
not so
Screw
easy to deal with.
yeah. And actually, it was kind of funny because I didn't even realize like until I started playing, it was like, oh yeah, I can just make the spiders deadly for free.
Yeah,
because I had.
that's why it's so nice with them.
Yeah,
Because you get
the
deadly
biggest.
and a discount.
Yeah, the biggest thing that I noticed when playing that is just it ran out of if your opponent can deal with your stuff, then you just run out of gas so quickly. Sure, you're throwing out spiders, but then like, what then if your opponent deals with?
Yeah, maybe you just don't bother with the mastery then. You just stay on level 1 and keep rolling.
It's the classic order corruption problem. Is that we don't draw enough cards because our removal and our creatures are so good. But anyway, yeah, because we also try to splash with Trigon for Tamea, but that Trigon's just so clunky when you're playing it in aggressive decks.
Oh yeah, you have to pay 1 mana now. Forget.
Mm-hmm.
I've almost forgotten about Trigon completely.
Yeah, it just slipped away. Well, I mean, I guess it didn't really slip away. It just fell out. But especially since you still see it sometimes, like in OTH and occasional Grand Reunion deck.
I'm sure it'll still be out there.
Yeah, because it's easier for them to work around the one mana thing than everything other decks that have to empty the board, their hand on the board as quick as they can.
Wait, Dobricious I thought had some kind of a question, so I don't know if he hasn't said anything as far as I know.
Oh.
I mean, he was complaining about me being quiet, so of course I, did the right thing and totally ignored him. But, so, hang on. Vanguard says Cruel Tech had spiders, apparently. Well, I didn't watch Cruel Tech much after his first loss, because, well, he wasn't gonna...
Oh, that's what he was running with Yatix? Huh.
Could have been. Oh, there you go, Dobricious.
Oh,
bring it on. Let's hope it's not a meme and it's like a legitimate question. And not like, how many fuzzes does it take to change a light bulb or something like that?
Bet it's going to be a shrining bashing question. That's what I'm guessing.
Well, we'll deal with it. Come on, Dobricious, don't keep us waiting. Is it going to be like a wall of text?
Yeah, that's what it's looking like.
Oh god, and not the ducks either. Like, we've heard that. Oh, dude!
Oh, it is the duck question.
So, it was maybe slightly amusing the first time. After about 5 times, not so funny anymore. Okay, we're just gonna pretend he didn't ask that question and move on with our lives.
Okay.
Alright, so we'll get it. I wonder what the next wave of cards will be before Masters. If they're really gonna do this once a month thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a timing. That's a kind of it's a really awkward timing thing because I think pretty much every expansion has always had that one card.
Well, that's OP.
Yeah. Although I was told that book was like a last minute change from something, though I didn't ever actually hear what it was. Do you know?
I know initially it was like 3 mana.
Okay.
And then we thought like, wow, that's just like no one's gonna play that. I don't remember the details though, if it worked exactly the same. Oh no, you know how it worked? It wasn't leveled the same or lower, but it had to have the same level and mana cost.
Oh, wow.
So it was like super clunky.
Yeah, that is
and it costs 3 mana, so like, dude, this is just trash. No one's gonna play this card. And then last minute, oh yeah, we're just gonna loosen the requirements and lower the mana cost by 1.
Oops.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was... Yeah, because that would be... If it was the same...
I mean, it doesn't
Wait, the same level and mana cost? Or
it has
same
to just
level
it has
lower?
to just add up to the same amount.
Oh, it's the add up thing.
But it's still very clunky.
Yeah, really slow.
Like, you have to lose a specific creature. Like, if you want to get a Thunderstorm Titan, you have to lose, like, a mutant or something.
Yeah, and then you're... Yeah, what do you just do? Do you just make a slew of spirits in your deck to
Yeah,
be
no,
the specific cost?
that's
Yeah.
way too specific. I think the current version, I think, is fair.
We'll see.
Well, I mean, I think it's good, but not, like, insane with the, you know, guards, double spirit crap.
Certainly. Like, it's not... I don't know if it's ridiculous. I mean, it's hard to tell, too, because I think Symbol of Growth will help a lot in terms of non-creature stuff. Because Symbol of Growth is just a good card. Like,
Yeah, we did
it's
see...
pretty much the hate. It's like the old Unicorn for nature, but a little harder to use.
Yeah, I think we did see a Green Soldiers deck from...
Yeah, Holyo was
Was
playing
it
that.
Holyo? Yeah, okay. And because with a Shooting Sprout, it gets really low when they get +6/+6 for the
Right.
turn.
Though you have to, like, play 2 of them, because you have to get the first one to get the Sprout, and then the second one to pump the actual Sprout.
But it seemed like a decent deck, actually, with Green Soldiers, with Diogen as well.
Are we even gonna acknowledge this question? Well, I guess I've already acknowledged it, but
Why Burke sees no competitive play? Well, I mean, where would you see it? Well, I think the simplest answer is he just doesn't fulfill any plan that a deck would want to fulfill. You know, for a Rage Rush, you'd rather have the no block power to push damage through, and for a control deck, you don't want to be taking damage. Your 3 damage clear is much better.
yeah. It's also just creatures are too big, and also it just does like nothing against certain decks.
I mean, I think
true with
Shamans
Zash
could conceivably play it because it gives them some removal option.
Right.
That's somewhat flexible. I mean, Burke kicks ass in limited, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's also the other thing is that Rage just also has just really good clearing. Rage has pretty good clearing already too, so it's also kind of redundant, which is also why or early game clearing, I should say. Rage has good early game clearing with Fire Blast, even Cannonade, Fireball.
And now the new symbol too.
Yeah, good card. So yeah, it's just too redundant, which is again why he's good in limited, because you get a
right. It's guaranteed to have this effect
right.
always. But yeah, you can just add a whole bunch of these cards. And you know, against an aggro deck, you don't want to be taking damage, and against even against Corruption Control, you don't really want to be taking that much damage. And what would you even be hitting?
Right. Yeah, I wonder. There is actually a possibility if like Spirit decks get a little bit more popular, that it could actually be somewhat more useful, because like that's the kind of deck that's going to play Assassin, and that's what Burke is really good against, is Assassin.
Sure. Picking off a couple guys here and there.
Man also can hit Innkeeper for only 2. It's not too bad.
Yeah, it seems like it'd be good against soldiers, but you can just put Fire Blast into your deck.
Right. That's the other thing. But,
So there's your answer, Britches.
Since he was kind of serious, not completely serious.
I mean, I guess I will. Whatever. He is who he is. What else is on our minds?
Do you have any other ancient style of cards that you want to see in the next?
Ancient style cards? Well,
or ancient cards.
You mean
the
with
particular style of card?
You mean with the ancient tag?
Yeah.
Or colorless? Well, I guess they're by default colorless.
Right.
Sure, I think colorless cards are great. Maybe not. They shouldn't be like too insane. But of course, the nice thing about them is because if they're not aspect bound, the Spirit deck could have been anything, right? We just chose Dominion Order because Thunderstorm Titan happens to be a very convenient target. A 1-mana 4/4 Spirit. If they ever release any more Spirits, there could be more interesting Spirit decks out there. So I certainly think cards like that are colorless, that have interesting effects, would be good for the game to open up a lot of deck options. Think Baku from Hearthstone, that sort of card. The fact that it's neutral is really good. That
Yeah.
just every deck could try something with it. It's just that other decks don't have good spirits to work with.
That'd be interesting to see how many people were playing by the gods. I don't think I
removal?
wasn't playing.
I
Yeah, I
saw a
wasn't
little
playing
bit. I
any
think
with it. I mean, it makes sense.
Halio had a deck like who had the rage? I saw rage.
I mean, Halio was running because you have
Dominion
target emblems everywhere in that
right,
deck.
So it was easy enough to get that going, and it's just instant tomb. It's like Soul Flames without the life cost.
Yeah.
And that can also be played as kind of a shrine, which is nice. That's very powerful, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it's like with Valley being a thing now, I think the biggest limiter is in terms of colors, like making sure you have the color you need on time. So, like, yeah, I mean, I trimmed like a shrine from all of my decks, I think, pretty much once adding Valley. So it's like, oh, that's a nice another card slot. But yeah, it's nice to have the flexibility.
Sure. Oh, no discard though, Britches. That's not very fun. I already don't like discard as it is. It's just not fun to have your hand like messed up like that.
Yeah, I mean,
But it's just my opinion. I know it's not like a universal opinion.
Yeah,
but
it's less.
But my priority is always having interesting games over balance, over archetype balance, which I don't think has any value really. I'd be okay if it was all mid-range, for instance, as long as all the games are good and nobody ever feels cheated out of a game.
Yeah, the discard's kind of interesting because of how little there is in this game, especially if you compare it to something like Magic, where it's like pretty much every deck that's running black that has a control aspect to it will run targeted discard because it's so good, and because combo is actually a thing in Magic. Well, it's not, because that would be the only way you could interact with it is through discard without a stack with counter spells or whatever. If you can play the entire combo in one turn, that is, like with the Banshee stuff.
Right. I want to protect to the blocker. 0/6 protect to the blocker. Wait, protected meaning that can't be targeted?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be insane? A 0/6 that can't be targeted?
I mean, it depends how much mana it is, but I'm guessing he's gonna say 1. So.
Well, 1 mana. You must be joking.
Or 2. It could be 2.
But also, how much speed? I imagine
say that if he's using Relic Guard as a comparison, you might be saying it's 2 mana. But
yeah, but if you tack protected on top of that, like imagine if Relic Guard was protected.
I mean, I feel like a lot of the times you don't use removal on Relic Guard anyway. You just kind of hit it or ignore it. But that's more me as a control player who plays control more. Is that like, well, I can ignore a Relic Guard.
Well, I mean,
my
Relic Guard
is
not designed to deal with control anyways.
Right.
And yeah, 6 HP is like probably a little too much.
Yeah.
But the way it could work is that it's like a 0/7, but every time it fights, it gets a weakness emblem or something.
Oh.
So it like gets weaker each time. Each time it takes damage, like it gets a weakness emblem or something.
Mm-hmm.
Then you could bump up its health even higher, and then it wouldn't feel as ridiculous. Then you could burk into it.
Yeah. Well, wait, you mean Burk attack it?
Yeah.
If it didn't have protected, yeah, you could do that.
Well, no, it shouldn't have protected.
Okay.
That's a bit much. I mean, I think if we're looking at more kinds of cards, is more comeback cards, because right now, win more cards are a big problem because of the way the combat works in Spellweaver.
Yeah, I mean, you got people like Cruel Tech complaining about Holy Radiance, which is the exact sort of thing that a comeback card is.
I think I can understand the complaint because it only hits the enemy side, so you could be ahead on the board and still play it. And
True.
then because it's a comeback card and a win more card at the same time. So, when we mean comeback, we mean like Cataclysm. Maybe not that powerful, obviously, but something you can play when you're losing, but isn't good when you're winning.
Yeah, I mean, I've always kind of wished that nature could be more of a. I mean, ever since Kiona left, it's kind of less of a mid-rangey. It's either just a Grand Reunion color or a aggro color, which Chimera kind of helps with that, but I don't think the shell is good enough at the moment. Because I actually saw someone playing it in one of the golden ticket qualifiers. They were playing Advanced Nieva with Nature and Rage.
Yeah, Chimera is pretty interesting. I like to see more support for that combo, Rage and Nature.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like they should fit together pretty well, like a wild theme. And the Chimera is a beast, for sure. But, it needs to be more. Because, I mean, the idea is you sack the little fox, right? And then it's like
right.
a 4/5 that deals, like, extra damage to everything. It can attack 3 things.
Yeah, that's the idea. And Nieva kind of helps you with your card count because you can just like ramp it all out. But it's still a little loose, both in terms. That's just something I'd like to see in the game more. Is something more in other colors besides, just more mid-rangey kind of cards, setup cards in. Besides Wisdom, because at least you've got like Curse of Risha in black to hate on other decks that are trying to go big, which is usually through spells, like late game with spells. But like, you don't have anything in nature that does anything like that in the first 2 plays of the game. You don't have anything in Rage really either that sets up for the late game, except for totems, which are fine. That's its own deck.
The old Burning Rage.
Yeah, you've got the old Burning Rage. That's again its own archetype, but the old one was. It was an interesting deck.
Debatably overpowered, but it was very interesting.
Yeah, as much as Cool Tech complains about it, I'm not sure. I mean, I think it actually might be able to come back now. The creatures have gotten bigger, and that just means going mono rage removal is harder.
Yeah,
so that symbol would be really good. That symbol would be really good with that card, though. I mean, it's already really good with the Burning Rage now. Not really good, but it's a good addition to the now Burning Rage as well.
One card that really kicks up in power level is Word of Fire when you have Burning Rage, because it ramps you, and then Word of Fire is already doing more damage. Now, the thing is, do you want to have the same downside on it, or do you want to come with something more consistent that you can't play around? Because you could, discard your hand down a little bit, and then you don't take any damage.
Well, if they're going to keep it, the same way with Valley, then they're not going to make it a May. They're going to make it necessary. You won't be able to DO yourself out of Burning Range.
Well, then you just don't run Valley.
That's true. I guess you could do that.
Well, you sometimes would deliberately want to miss DO to get your card count down.
That's my point. That's why, like, Valley, even though it says a May, it's currently acting as a required. That's technically a bug.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, why would you ever not want it?
That's the only deck that would ever want to do that, really. That would want their card count lower. Or if, last card, if it's like the last card in your deck, then you wouldn't want to do that either. But,
Oh, yeah. But Burning Rage then basically becomes another Dark Portal, right? Maybe not as insane, but not that far. But the downside was way smaller.
Yeah, it's not as... It's more flexible, not as ridiculous in terms of what you could do. But yeah, the downside is also a lot worse because it's mitigatable as opposed to, well, I mean, technically Portal's mitigatable too, but at a great tempo loss.
Yeah, you gotta
the mana thing is always the issue with Portal.
Well, I mean, the idea is that if you can just reset it with another portal. Yeah, you have to spend 2 mana, but you probably saved that much already, dropping Bedevils and Harpies and whatever.
That's true, but you know, forced action make things rough sometimes.
What's really keeping demons from like dominating is that they don't have any playable 2-cost demons other than Vulture, because the Thought Devourer doesn't actually deal damage, which is a problem. So they can't run it.
Yeah.
But if it didn't, like if it was just a 2-mana 3/2 flying, that would be a great demon for them.
I mean, that would already be kind of a ridiculous card in general. Well, not super ridiculous, but like are fairly arguably better than Vanguard, I think. But Elite Vanguard.
Yeah, it could. I mean, I assume that it would not have the other effect of gaining +1/+1 if it deals damage, because that would be a little bit too good.
That would be stupid.
So just a vanilla 3/2 flying demon. I think that'd be. I mean, I guess because of Portal, yeah, it might be ridiculous. I mean, I would run it.
Yeah, I hadn't thought, like, I'd always noticed how Thought Devour was annoying, but for your curve, but yeah, I never thought about it in that way, and that if they did have the 1-mana demon, that could be, because it's almost like the Nightbringer effect, where you can get it whenever you know you're only going to have 1 mana, you're going to have a mana left over. It's like, well, I can just grab it from the portal.
Just get a nice body.
Down.
Yeah. The demons don't even have to be that good, they just have to be cheaper. Like, Bedeviled seems pretty scary, but it's still just 3 health.
Right.
On 2 mana.
Thank you, Fireball.
Right. Although if you can't remove it, you got problems.
Right.
5/3. And then Succubus is kind of expensive, but, you know, pretty good. So, yeah. But on the other hand, you must say, do you really want more cards like that? Because, like, well, if I start with Portal, I'm rolling. If I don't draw Portal, well, my game is going to suck.
Yeah, I mean, not that, like, what's the word I'm looking for? No, I don't want to say powerful. More, something a little bit more subtle, sort of a subtle effect. Sort of like what Curse of Rishta does, which it gets really powerful in multiples and really early, but in general, it sets up your game plan. It's just a card that sets up the mono C game plan against control decks. And I kind of wish there were more cards, not like that, not necessarily like crazy against control, but like cards similar to maybe the Magi Expedition, but better. The one that goes through your deck getting cards, and then you can pay 2 mana to get one and draw a card. Like
Distant Expedition.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Magi is the big crab.
It's the crab. That's right. I always get those two confused. But that's kind of like a card that I think would open up. Besides, you have the Horizon problem, but I think if you had more cards like that, then especially in Conquest, then you could see more mid-rangey control decks. I mean, you've got Power Surge and Dominion, which is I think one of the reasons why Rage Dominion can work, is because a lot of the times you can just because Phoenix is amazing. That's the other reason. But
yeah, who knew, right?
Yeah, it's just like there are certain color combinations like black-white where I don't have a play on turn a black-white mid-range deck where I don't really have a play on turn 2, or a or in green. Yeah, it's really, I mean, Order has enough already, which is fine. It's just more, nature. Yeah, I guess you could run Curse of Rishta in a black-white mid-range deck, but it's more green that I'd like to see. It's more of a mid-rangey card, and maybe purple, something other than ramp too. I don't know. It's more green though. That feels like it has a color identity issue.
Green has it probably needs some love after all the nerfs it's taken.
Yeah.
I mean, it used to be a force to be reckoned with.
Right, with
1 mana Outbreak was 1.
And
a 3/3 Haldiri. And yeah, and the way the landslide worked. I think the landslide was a fair nerf because it was kind of like for a tempo deck, it was like the best card you could imagine.
Yeah.
But Haldiri I thought was a bit of a unfair nerf. And we just went from like a really cool, like a big card to just like a whatever card. Like if you're not playing it out with Cayano, it's 2 health.
I think that happened with while Fireball was 3 mana, right? I think it did. Yeah, I could see that with, because now it's actually probably looks super embarrassing with the new symbol too. Just
Right. Yeah.
bang, bang, you're dead. Kill maybe one of your other things or deal 2 to your face for 1 mana cheaper. Wow.
Yeah, I think we forget that some cards get nerfed, but then when the environment changes, they don't get unnerved. Like, well, we've
Right.
forgotten all these cards. Like, Haldiri should be a 3/3. I never thought it was unfair. It's just because it was on top of 1 mana Outbreak and Landslide.
Wait, did it have? I know Landslide had been. I think Landslide was changed before Haldiri, but was I guess Tornado, was it 1 mana?
Yeah,
when it was
but it was 2 aspects, but who cares? That doesn't
Oh,
really
yeah.
matter.
You're not playing it on turn
1,
2.
yeah. So, I mean, 1 mana Outbreak, it's kind of on the border of overpowered, but I felt like it was like their key card. It was their Fireball, basically. It was Nature's Fireball. With 2 mana, it's kind of like mediocre. It's not even that bad, actually, at 2, but...
I always liked your suggestion of on the opponent's next turn that the cost gets reduced by 1 or even permanently.
No,
Like,
the suggestion was the creature that's returned costs 1 less mana.
well, that's what I meant. Yeah, sorry if I didn't say that.
But it's your
But
creature,
yeah.
too. If you bounce your creature, it costs 1 less mana, too.
But yeah, that was.
Which I thought was the fairest way to... Like, it costs 1, but they can catch up quicker.
Yeah, so it's like 2. It's a 2 mana in differential, but you're only paying 1 to hold it up and to play it, because that's the important thing, is being able to
Use it on 1, yeah.
forego spending a mana in order to have that effect. Because because that's kind of what I'm worried about, is that if Parallel does get nerfed, is that Phoenix might get too good. Because Phoenix already feels like, whenever I played in Conquest against an aggro deck that's not playing Parallel Evolution, it's just like, how do you beat this? I get to 2 free blocks, it eats a ton of stuff. It's just so good. That's someone who loves playing Phoenix.
The best rage creature.
Yeah.
The
it's
highest
It's
value.
the best rate. Yeah, it's the best rate, I'd say. Because that's like the only you can shock it and you can evo it. And yeah, that's
Oh, I guess I'd like Helmet or
spray on
something.
it, which is kind of like shocking it, but yeah.
You can Helmet. That used to be its main...
That's the other thing. That's right, the
main
helm.
nemesis. But that's when Helm costs 1 Dominion.
Oh yeah.
So you could splash
mean,
it even.
It's still really good in the Wisdom Rage, Wisdom Dominion matchup.
Oh yeah, I mean, Helm is by no means... It deserved the nerf. It was a well-deserved nerf. Just like with Lamp. Like, you can't have Lamp be, 1 blue. It's a little too good. Because then it's like a better Haldiri, basically, in some ways. Nah,
yeah,
man, the old Lamp.
Especially when it was 3 speed.
Oh my god. And it costs 2 mana. No, it used to cost 2 mana.
Yeah, I think that was the point when I wasn't playing.
That was
like
very early in the game. I mean, Vamp Lamp was the real deal.
Right. Yeah, that I got to experience. But yeah, because I think it might have been that change, either that or the Obelisk change from not being legendary anymore. That was that happened like right before I started playing or something like that.
Obelisk, you mean because it was not legendary to begin with, then it was made legendary.
Right, because OTH would just play 4.
Why? Yeah, you just put down 4 of them, and it's like, what?
Who needs New Horizons? I mean, we like New Horizons too. But...
Yeah, but yeah, you had like 7 order levels. Oh, Word of Grace just heal casual 14.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fun times.
Yeah,
Fun
great
times.
times. The bridges, can we get Ritual of Gardens at 2? Is it 3 mana now? Or is it 4?
Yeah, it does the search your deck for a non-fairy creature with level equal or lower to the number of fairies you control and has a common aspect with your hero.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I think you could probably put that in too, because like the fairies are all frail. That's the thing.
Yeah, the burden here is getting fairies on the board, not having the mana to cast this.
Yeah, I mean, you could just like having 1 less mana would be like you're more likely to be able to go fairy, one more fairy to get what I want out. But
Yeah, but
yeah,
I mean, what are you searching for that's so good? I like cards like this because it encourages more flexible decks.
yeah. I mean, I'm not saying it'd be a problem. I'm saying it's probably more balanced at 2 than it is at 3. Yeah, it'd be kind of cool to see what would come. I mean, I know one of the things, this would probably be run in a chicken deck, just because chickens like, well, I guess it depends which aspect you want to go for.
I mean, then you just fetching it. Then it's just another copy of chicken, just more likely to draw them, right? You pay 2 mana and you get a chicken.
Yeah.
If you have a fairy on the board, that doesn't seem that overpowered.
I mean, the thing is, just chicken is a really good 2-drop. That's once you have the range going with haste, is that it's like 3/2, 3/1.
But it's
Swift,
never gonna be playable on
chicken.
2 though. You mean it can fetch a chicken, which is I guess pretty nice.
Right. I mean, it can fetch something better than a chicken if you have more than one fairy out.
It could fetch Elgaron.
Yeah, that seems a little. I think you would max it at 3. Yeah, because like I said, they're all frail. Like, and they all have flying too. So like, just fire blast the back row, and you get to save a card with fleeting fairy, but
well, they're not all that frail. Moonlight and the Empress are like reasonably statted cards.
That's true. I mean, they're not, especially with the Moonlight nerf. That's not like, it's playable, but not like super amazing. It still is a tempo loss to Noxious Fumes and.
Yeah, that old Moonlight was spooky.
Yeah, was it? I guess. So yeah, I never. Maybe it's because I played a lot of removal in my decks, but I only heard that it was actually like really good in limited or whatever.
No, I mean it was because it was an elf with flying. It could get +1/+1. It just kicked ass in creature combat.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, it was definitely good.
I mean, hate bears anyone or any of the bears?
Yeah, I always felt like a weird. Well, I think it was when they nerfed it, because they nerfed it instead of Deegan. That was the thing.
Oh.
That was stupid, because they're like, we nerfed a card from each aspect, but we didn't touch Deegan, who's the 2-mana
god card,
crazy
basically.
guy. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you could instill him. Yeah, that was hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should not be able to instill a card like that. I think Namir is like about as powerful of a card as you can allow to instill.
Yeah, and even sometimes that's kind of a little. Well, yeah, it's good. It is the best, pretty much the best card, unless you're like, Bloodwell's better in a very few situations, but there are a couple situations that's better. But
and if Order Corruption was good, you'd be instilling cults.
Yeah.
But that seems kind of.
Especially if you could get them to 4/4 on the same turn.
It just seems a little unrealistic, because cult is a weird card.
Yeah,
like, when it works, it totally dominates.
Cold and Vulture, I feel like are the reasons why like you can say that mana abilities are really. Mana abilities come with a cost, because like Vulture's like, this thing can grow to like
10,
amazing. 10. I mean, that's also because it's 1 speed, but
yeah,
they
better be 1 speed.
But like, if your plan is to just like pump a Vulture 4 times when you're not in dealing like combat damage, like if you're not playing anything else, like it's just super vulnerable to like any removal spell to getting out tempoed. And Colt's kind of similar in that way, definitely not as much, but yeah, it's just you need that initial setup.
Well, you don't need that much with Cult. I mean, basically it's a 3-aspect Vanguard, but if you can, if you get any trades at all, it can kill. With only 2 mana cost, it shouldn't be too hard, but it's just hard to make a deck where it would work. Although I've seen Corruption run it now, the Mono C. Every now and then you see Cults.
It's harder now though without the spirits from Haunt, because Haunt will really make it grow really quickly.
Oh yeah.
Because you get free sacks.
Yeah, Haunt. I feel like there's another card that just could have been salvaged, but now it's kind of useless.
I kind of wish I'd like to see what it would have been like at 3 mana. Because then it's a lot worse as a creature, Stifler.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
it still does what it needs to do against non-creature decks. I just wanted to see if that would work, and it like corruption control then like doesn't want to run as many because it's messing with your curve, and yeah, I think it could have. I would have liked to have seen how that would have went.
Yeah. I feel like this version could have even been reduced to 1 mana almost. I'm not even sure it would be that good because just getting 1 in Chainsaw is like whatever.
You could basically like, you could cancel out a Curse of Russia at with that tempo gain, but you're still losing the card, which is more important generally in the Mono C mirror, I feel like. Because you both run out of cards. Well, yeah, the Mono C mirror is weird, but
another fun card that got the nerf hammer very hard, the Harbinger of Sorrows.
Oh yeah.
Went from, top tier 4-drop to trash tier 4-drop. Oh dear.
I mean, that's what happens when you strip effectively 2 from it. One of them being its own separate body.
Yeah, they took away. Well, first they took away the demon tag. That was probably pretty necessary.
Oh yeah.
Then they took off 1 health. Ouch. And then you summon 1 less.
Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah, the card is clearly useless now.
Yeah,
but I would argue
the
whole tainted mechanic is just a bad idea because it doesn't do anything.
Yeah, I mean this was the card that you could do it with. You could do something with because it actually cared about how much life you lost this turn, but it ended up being too stormy in that, and you wanted to just lose bunch of life in one turn.
Well, because the consecutive copies worked off of each other.
Yeah.
First one summons 2, then like 4.
Yeah, but even like the base, that was, at least at the time, the base value of it was just really good to begin with, which is what you would expect from like a card that makes you lose life, is that you're going to get something better.
Yeah, you get value
than the normal rate, at least. Something like that. I mean,
if it was a 2/4 that summoned 1, would be, I think, interesting. But instead of a 2/3, yeah, it's a bit too much.
Yeah, I think, well, because what would usually happen is that your opponent would try to attack it, and then you'd save it with a spirit. So it's basically like, but then you'd have a spirit left over, which was the silly thing. Because that was the best way to take it down, was to attack it, just because like everything else was a tempo law. I mean, freezing it would be good too, but like you couldn't even freeze Fire Blast because your spirits were on the back row. Yeah, that's something kind of weird about balancing that I didn't realize until Harbinger, is that like, and also just by playing Wisdom Rage with having Orc on the front line and Phoenix on the back line, is that sometimes that really matters, having your guys spread out between both lines, at least against certain cards.
Well, mostly Fire Blast.
Yeah, I guess maybe that's wise, because I'm biased towards Fire Blast, is that I feel that way.
Well, flying creatures are just inherently better, because they can't be attacked. That's huge.
Right. But, yeah, probably could have been 2/4, 1 soul. That's a 3/5. That's Rygon stats with the cross 2 bodies. That makes you lose
3 lives.
Life. It's certainly like easier to deal with because you only need 1 thing to kill the Enchained Soul, and there are a bunch of ways to kill one creature, like Power Discharge or Detonate or Mutant. Yeah, there are a bunch of ways that you can actually like get the Enchained Soul dead on your turn, yeah. But I do like one of the things of making the plant guy tainted is that then when you like play the plant deck, you're like, oh, wait a minute, I can change my guy into a plant guy and I won't lose any life. That's cool. because it's a come in the field ability. But that's just a little thing. That's kind of cute.
I guess. But I mean, Plant Guy is a perfect example where the Tainted is just like, what is it really? It could just read when it comes into play, lose 3 life.
Right.
And it could actually read it on all of them. Like the fact that you don't lose the life if you have 3 evil aspects. Like what?
Yeah. Yeah. It didn't. It's kind of weird because you didn't have like. There's not a tainted deck because they're all like 3 mana. Aren't they all 3 mana or greater? Yeah.
Well, I mean, how could
So
you even make a
you can't make a
tainted
deck around.
It's a strictly negative effect.
Well, you'd have something that like gains you life from the life you lost.
Oh, okay. If there was an effect, let's say whenever you lose life, something good happens.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess that might make sense.
I mean, that's kind of, again, what the Portal deck is, in a sense, is that, well, you're trading life, but it's like, well, we can leverage this life to do other things besides make your demons cheaper. It gains you more souls, which are great chump blockers when your opponent's trying to kill you, with your trying to race you against the Portal.
Yeah, a Portal is, even though I like the card, it's kind of, it's a bit game warping.
Yeah, at least when it gets played, because I think it's kind of been decided that's kind of a little too inconsistent to actually try to win with in terms of a competitive level. I mean, you definitely can, but, and I think also just with Conquest having a bunch of aggro stuff is that which is what Portal doesn't want to play against. It wants to play against decks that are basically doing nothing.
I mean, I wouldn't say that. Just against even mid-range, it's fine. Really, the only thing you're scared of is like a double 1-drop opener. Because then you don't really want to play Portal into that.
Right.
That's pretty sketchy.
Or just a fast enough deck with Fireball. It's like, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die. Fireball you twice in the face and just kill you.
Yeah, I guess I don't know if you could probably tune it more to be like anti-aggressive by putting in like Vermin instead of Zombie Legionnaire. Because Zombie Legionnaire is like helps the aggression, but I'm not really sure you need that help. If you survive against the aggro, you'll easily overwhelm them with Succubus. Against Control, well, it's a Succubus Fiesta. If they die, well, then you Vulture, and then you just get them all back.
Right. Though, yeah, playing the value game is kind of seems a little bad with Portal just because, like, you have to play cards that stop your own Portal from killing you, so you're already losing cards from that.
Well, yeah, it got a little help when it became legendary, because another Portal can just do that for you.
True. That's
very helpful, where previously you have to run, like, Herald of Despair or some trash like that.
Right.
That was pretty sad. I remember when Dr. Styx could be played to destroy it, when it didn't lose you life.
Yeah, that's a card. I kind of wish Dr. Styx would... I always thought when he got nerfed that it was kind of stupid to lose life, and he got smaller. Like, I kind of wish he was still a 4-2, or because that's what he was, right? Was a 4-2?
Yeah, it became a 6-4 with Unstoppable when when you got to 4 levels.
Yeah, and I just felt like making the lose life. I mean, the lose life made sense with the demons.
Oh, yeah.
Stop that. But, or at least if you're going to get rid of your Portal with it, it came at a cost, more life. But making it 3/2/2 as well, just like, well, it's not even like a good value creature.
Well, if it gets a kill on the opposing side, it's pretty nice. It can kill Namir. Yeah.
That's true. I mean, that's like the best. Well, and Colt, but those are like the best targets for it. And there's just a bunch of times
kill
where
something in almost any deck.
Once you get to like 4 mana, that like you don't even care about the two mana cards. I mean, maybe that's just because of soldiers being a thing. It's just like, well, what are you going to kill? Vanguard, CFC. Well, that's not what this game's about. It's about all of these soldiers that are coming at you. Spot removal's bad against tokens.
Well, that's what Word of Pain is for.
Right.
Although Word of Pain, well, demons used to love the old Word of Pain, obviously.
Yeah.
Because it's just more drain. And sometimes it was better than Succubus. It was like a 2-mana Succubus that drew you a card. Value.
Yeah, I mean, you're kind of drawing enough cards as it is. But then again, I guess if you get more Nightbringers, then that's, like, more power to you.
No. Well, that
more
the
things to
drain
play.
came with healing, so it was perfect.
Right.
So you could... So I would argue, now that Word of Pain does what it does, why doesn't Word of Vigor go back to its old? This was another powerful nature card that was just destroyed.
Yeah, I think with Trigon getting nerfed, that could go back to its old. Because, like, that was the thing after Word of Pain got changed, but before Trigon changed, that was like, maybe this isn't such a good idea to throw 2 Might Emblems at instant speed, but I think now it would be fine to encourage mono.
I mean, they could take away the instant
stuff.
if that's a problem. That's fine.
Yeah. I guess that would...
Give mono nature a reason to exist.
Yeah, I mean, it's starting to come back with the new elf, kind of. Like, elves is that's a really good include for the elf deck, the elf champion, elvish champion. But yeah, that might be enough to push it over the top, or making the shrine better, the elf shrine. Well, no, that's probably, I don't know if that's, because I used to give +1/+2.
Yes. Which was pretty nice.
Yeah, at least at a 3-turn cooldown, that should probably be +1/+2 again, to be honest.
Yeah, when you compare it to the soldier shrine.
Yeah.
Which is a might emblem every turn.
Permanent. At only the cost of, having your stuff die.
Oh yeah, but then you just put your tacticians back into your deck.
Right.
Good
I
deal.
mean, usually you won't get them again unless you shuffle your own deck with Innkeeper, but
sure.
And you just happen to get there, but yeah, I mean that's the thing, is that your creatures are going to die as you play it, so it just kind of happens.
Yeah.
Yep.
I know we begrudged the elf winter, but we may have gone nuclear on it.
Yeah, I mean that's,
because you look at all the nerfs.
I mean, there were, yeah.
Landslide, Outbreak, Haldiri, Word of Vigor, Elf
It
Shrine.
wasn't I don't even think it was elves that put Outbreak. That was because that happened after the Kayonu Grand That happened, I think, at the same time as the Kayonu nerf.
Well, it may have had something to do with
Wasn't it?
Diogen getting it back into your hand.
Oh. Yeah, because that was coming. Well, because that hadn't happened yet, but it was coming. Was it?
I don't remember, but it may have been a preemptive one where they thought, okay, well... Also, Diogen could also get chickens back, right? But I don't remember when it was changed. Like, they realized, okay, well, it can't work with chickens, guys. And then they would have Valor, too. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. That would have been... That was nuts. But, yeah, and that's actually probably one of the potential issues of changing Kayonu back to what he was, is that, like, cards like Diogen get really good when you're able to throw out Might Emblems without your opponent being able to do anything.
Oh, well, did someone want to change Kayonu back?
Yeah, I mean, he's just, like, bad now. Like, now he's just, like, almost unplayable. There's a few niche uses you can use him with shooting sprouts and just maybe plants in general, but...
Because the big deal was the mana discount, right?
Right.
So maybe they could just have that. Just, you pay X mana, you pay 1 less than the creature costs, but keep it to level 2 or below, right? So you can't, cheese cults or stuff like that.
I forgot they changed it to level 2.
Yeah. It used to be anything.
Because that's what it was. Yeah, I do know that, but I didn't even notice until right now because of Kayonu's, like, basically only used in level 2 decks now. So I don't even think if he would be able to be used in level 3, that he would use it in level 3 now.
Probably not. But if it with the discount, a 1-mana cult that comes out with a counter.
Yeah.
That'd be
I think you could just do the 2 to 3 as the discount if you changed it back, because that's the real, again, like you said, that's the real linchpin, is that. But Deegan would still be pretty scary, being able to play like 2 or 3 Might Emblems on that turn he came into play.
But the thing is, then when it works with just that, 2 level 3 mana, then anytime they print a card in that mana slot, it's like, well, we have to make sure it's not overpowered with Kayanu, and they can't nerf it too much because then it's going to be trash. Whereas what if Kayanu just worked with all cards level 2 or below, but just cost, that card would cost 1 mana less, maybe no less than 1, so you get like a 0 mana Elf Scout on turn 1. Oh no, because you need 2 levels anyways.
Well, would you not be putting a Might Emblem on it then? Is that?
Well, no, you're saying? It has to get a Might Emblem because that's the point. Because you're basically delaying it by a turn, so you have to get value out of it. And as we see, one Might Emblem is not enough.
But what you're suggesting is more powerful than what I'm suggesting.
Well, yeah, but level 2 or below only. Now it might be that would be too good if you could just get like Elf Warrior for 1 mana and it'll come in as a 3/3.
Yeah.
Then make the cooldown 3 mana. 3 turns if it's like that good.
Maybe. I feel like when I used to play with, well, how many activations do you get in a game? I feel like it was like 2, usually.
I mean, you just do it every chance. Oh, yeah, because it was limited because you only have so many 2 mana level 3 guys.
Yeah.
Like Library Guards was like ridiculous, right? It comes out as a 3/4 for 2 mana and you draw a card.
Yeah. It's good times.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't want it to be just that mana cost. That seems really weird.
I mean, it's because it's like the greatest. I think the greatest mana gap in Spellweaver is between 2 and 3. Well, maybe it's between 1 and 2.
Oh, between 1 and 2 for sure. I mean, yeah. If you
I guess because there's just not a heavy enough density of cards at 1 where we notice that, but it's a lot more noticeable when you go from 2 to 3 because we have a lot more analogies and analogous cards. But
also there's Instill.
Yeah, I guess my issue is that like making it cheaper for anything is better than making it cheaper than just going from the 2 to 3, because then it's not like if it was already too good just going from 2 mana to 3 mana, then like if you make it anything, then it's going to be really, really good.
Well, then maybe you do take away the Might Emblem. I don't know. Not sure.
Yeah.
Like if it's totally unplayable now, well then something's got to be changed.
Yeah, I mean, you could say that with Basic Despina too.
Oh my god, Basic Despina. It just seems like a failed concept, to be honest. Like, it seems impossible to make it balanced. Like, previously it was overpowered, but now it's like trash.
Yeah, I mean...
Is that the problem with just having too many heroes, where there's just no way to make them all balanced? Like, there's some are always going to be trash?
I mean, I think some are designed, like, as you make more varied heroes, and I think this is true in a lot of games, even beyond trading card games, is that, like, as you add variety to your game, you're just extending yourself out there, and it's harder to reel it all in, especially if certain things will interact in ways that, like, you have to watch more of the interactions. So that, like, when you get Despina with her old hero power and you give her a playable power discharge or power surge, then that gets, like, that hero power gets a lot better, the old one, because then you're actually, like, going up in mana and you're gaining mana when you would be using your hero power. Yeah. I don't know. I think I'm kind of surprised that they didn't just try like limiting how much mana you got off Despina, because it doesn't fill up all of your mana crystals.
Yeah, the old power was I think like pay 2 mana and get all of your mana back.
Yeah.
So yeah, when you had like 12 mana, it was just like you could just insta kill with a red dragon basically.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised that's not the route that they went with. That they just especially that was around the time that they were putting just limits on everything, like Vermilion and whatnot. It's just like, well, you could just gain up to fill up to X mana crystals, empty mana crystals, and just limit your top end of how much mana you could get. But
could have been
well.
Yeah. Small changes instead of big ones.
Yeah, I mean that's the issue, is because there's like the stigma around stuff getting changed, which is annoying, especially if you're not playing like super competitively, like coming back how many ever days or weeks later, and it's like, wait, what changed? What's that? And then you just get people frustrated and they leave. And that's the unfortunate part about tweaking, is that even though it gets you, I think, to the best place, it takes more time than something that might be a little heavy-handed, but it also keeps changing it for people that are more casual playing the game. And I think that's probably the reason why they don't do buffs either, is because they try to stay away from buffs, is because then if you buff it too much and then you have to back out, then it looks really bad.
Well, again, that's what I would say, very incremental changes, You don't, go from... Like, if you went from unplayable to insane, you definitely went wrong.
That's true.
So, if something seems a little too good, just slightly make it worse. Now, of course, the other issue is that when it comes to stats, it's very hard to do that, because they're so low. Like 4 in either attack or health is already a lot. Going from 3 to 2 is huge. You can't just do that to a card. You can't just lower or reduce the mana cost, or increase it, because it would just kill it.
Yeah, that's something that I would definitely do if I was ever making a card game, is that I'd move to the tens, hundreds, or thousands in terms of where I put my numbers, just so it's a lot easier to adjust later. Something like Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Force of Will.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Didn't do anything with that. Because, yeah, it was multiples of, thousands, but that was meaningless. There was no creature with, 1,842 attack. That just didn't happen. It was, I think the smallest increment was 50.
Yeah, which is still, at least even getting to the tens helps a lot. If your normal is if you're doing, 10 to 40 instead of, 1 to 4, then you get a lot more adjustability.
Well, because you can do 5, right? You could have a creature at 15 attack instead of 20. But, I mean, in Spellweaver, because we talked about this, all you really have to do is just double all the numbers. Double the life, double everybody's attack, double everybody's health. Anything that deals damage would deal twice the damage. Because now, a 2/2 becomes a 4/4, but you could also have a 4/5.
Right.
That's like a 2 and 2.5.
Yeah, it doubles your adjustability, basically.
You get more leeway for stats this way.
Yeah, which is what I was saying with tens, except that just multiplies it by a factor of 10 instead of.
Well, I mean,
it
doesn't. If it doesn't help, you should just use the lowest numbers possible.
Yeah, that's true.
Adding a 0, okay. I don't know why. Maybe in some cases it does look prettier, but maybe because he's just used to it. I know Pokemon did that. They multiplied everything by 10.
Right. That's true.
Even though they didn't have to.
They never basically used ones, so it was basically the same thing, just with the 0 tacked on at the end. But yeah, I mean that's. And again, that flexibility is really helpful, especially if you really want to be able to tighten the balance in a game quite a bit, because you're not going to really be able to change the mana costs. I mean, you kind of could, but yeah, that's a lot. You get a lot more complicated, and you start heading towards in the direction of Civilization turn, where you're having really big, more invisible mana costs, sort of. But so you have to be able to change something, and the stats are easier to change than the mana costs, and so you need to have stats that are able to be changed easily.
Well, I think that one really good example of proper balance was with Diogen, where they upped his mana to 3, but they gave him 3 health.
Right.
So it's like they made him worse, of course, but then they upped him a little bit, so it was more. They were able to make it only a little bit better, or a little bit worse instead of like just dropping him to 3 mana, leaving him at 2 health, which would suck.
I mean, he's significantly worse than he was before, but
yeah.
he's still very playable.
Yeah. Well, the main reason he's significantly worse is because he can't be instilled, which
right.
That was ridiculous. I mean, and still having the non-spirit is kind of lol, although it's a little bit less lol now because of Book of Spirits, because spirits have their own thing now.
That's true.
And with the whole embody mechanic too. So okay, the distinction between spirit and non-spirit. Okay, I can work with that.
It's stronger now.
Yeah, and of course, instilling 2 mesmerizing spirits is a bunch of crap. That's bogus, bro.
Yeah, which is kind of weird that it took, like, I mean, I think it was just because of how weak that color combination was, and it took that that stupid Innkeeper version to really bust it open and just make everyone's lives absolutely miserable with Void Touched and Evo and
oh dear,
putting all the shrines back into your opponent's deck, and what an MTG way. That's what I always commented. It was like, what an MTG way to beat your opponent is just like make their deck absolutely miserable, just completely full of lands.
Oh right. Well, no, here wouldn't be so bad because they just redraw, so they would go through them much quicker.
Right, but then you get the whole, like, at the end of the game when you're trying to top deck something, you draw shrine into shrine, and you're just like,
True. That can happen.
But yeah, just diluting your good draws by giving you empty blank draws. But
not as soul crushing as top decking a land in Magic.
That's true.
Because that was like, ugh. And often you just wouldn't even play it, so they think it's an instant, and then they have to play around something.
Yeah.
Maybe we could use more 1 mana instants that have small effects. Because it's hard to save 2 mana a lot of the time. But it'd be much easier to save 1. Like Touch of Light kind of cards.
Yeah, but you can't make them, like, too good.
Well,
and you...
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's like, I mean, you've got Flash Freeze, you've got Ambush Strike, you've got Touch of Light. Is that it? Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, and that's all good guys.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be fine with Dominion having... Well, that's almost feels like... I'd be fine with Dominion having a 1 mana instant. Just put a weakness emblem on something. I'd be fine with that.
Oh, like the new symbol was, but they had to add the whole mill thing on top of it, which also spawns Enchained Souls.
Well, that's 2 mana.
Well, now no, it is 2 mana now, but what I'm saying is they could have had just a 1 mana, yeah, put a weakness on it. It seems like it'd be fair. Give it a Corruption or Dominion.
Yeah. But, I mean, there's only, you're very limited in what you can do for 1 mana without doing anything crazy. Wait, didn't you guys get to, you got to see the Apocalypse thing. That was kind of a fun instant.
The what thing?
1 mana instant. The Apocalypse deck during Masters wasn't Sandalphon was playing that?
Oh, the one that gives energy?
Yeah, I mean, he was playing that with the Apocalypse, right?
Well, he had the deck, but Apocalypse was not played. But yeah, I know what card you're talking about. The Symbol of Flux or something?
Yeah, that's what it's supposed to be used. That's what it's used with, is Apocalypse to kill your opponent in 1 shot. Well, maybe 2. If you can take a hit from the Apocalypse, then you can, like, boost it to where you need to, so you don't die, and then you just boost it the rest of the way to kill him.
Yeah, because it happens at the start of each player's turn, right?
Right.
So end of your turn, you just like play it 3 times. Because
Well,
you can just get it back in your hand.
Turn. That's like during your turn, but
I
yeah.
guess you could do it during your turn even.
Yeah. The way you could utilize that as an instant is playing at the end of your opponent's turn, so that you take increased damage, but obviously not enough to kill you. But then you just have more mana to pour on your turn. You'll have more mana to pour into it through various means to just overload your opponent's board and life total.
Apocalypse is pretty amusing.
Yeah, Nate, I'm amazed how much that symbol actually helps it work. Because Nate was feeling pretty good about it, and he actually he wanted someone to play it, but I just felt like it was worse against aggro than regular Wisdom Rage. Certainly better against control though, just because control hates you being able to deal 10 damage to them in a way that's hard to interact with.
Yeah.
So it's kind of fun to see Apocalypse actually have a use and stuff.
I mean, Symbol of Flux is likely gonna rise once there's more things to do with energy.
Yeah.
Just not right now. I mean, you can play for 1 mana. That's not even that bad. Get 2 energy on something. Get an extra golem if that deck ever worked.
No, because then why wouldn't you just play a golem? But
well, I mean, you could just, when you use it with Foundry Engineers, but right, it's just like you might just play golem. But the point is, if you have 3 mana, you can get it back in your hand. It's a nice value trick.
Just keep Force Field alive longer. And
oh, I mean, yeah. I mean, Force Field is like, if you have 2 Force Fields, aggro's gonna have a real fun time trying to kill you.
Right. Really, anything's gonna have a fun time killing you. That's not named Corruption. That can drain you. But
right.
But even that's still limited because they still need to deal you actual damage unless they have a curse out.
But they'll do better. But yeah, when you have 12 mana, play Foundry Engineers and just pump him 3 times. And just 3 golems immediately. If they don't kill him, there's another 3 golems next turn.
Yeah.
Pretty fun. But right now, the early game is a bit vulnerable because it's so easy to get blown out. Because, I play a 2/2, you play a 2/2, I just play like a Valor card and you're screwed.
Yeah. I think someone actually made this for one of your old custom card. Actually, I think it was specifically one for colorless, and I think it'd just be a really good addition because I think I was actually thinking the same thing myself. It's just have a colorless card that's 1 mana, probably not an instant. You could maybe make it an instant, and just like basically a Noxious Fumes, except it's either damage or you just say with 2 or less health if you didn't want it to interact with free stuff. So just like basically give every color a Noxious Fumes if they want it, a slightly worse Noxious Fumes if they want it. I think that would really help give decks that wanted to beat aggro a way to beat aggro. Because that's one of the issues is that you have more 1-drops than you have ways to remove 1-drops.
Right. Well, no, it probably shouldn't be instant because if Noxious Fumes was instant, it would be absolutely ridiculous.
That's true. Yeah. So don't make it instant, but either make it 2 damage.
Just 1 mana deal 2 damage or something.
To a creature, or kill a creature with less than
2 health
or something. If you didn't want, if you wanted to.
No, I'll just keep
not
it
interact
2 damage.
with damage.
So it's not useless if they buff it to like a 3/3. And I was like, oh, whoops. Well, I guess it's useless now.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, it could be good, but probably don't make it ancient because whoa, you can also be used as a shrine. What? Then it becomes a little bit too universal.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, Noxious isn't.
Noxious isn't every corruption deck.
Noxious
is one of the best 1 mana cards you can possibly imagine.
That's true.
Insane.
I mean, it has its moments where it's not good though.
But that's also because it lowers attack, so you can
actually
trade up.
Right, because it's a lot harder to, if you wanted to do. Yeah, there are a lot more situations where it's just damage that you'll have to team up with something to get it there, to get the kill that you need. Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of one of the things that I wish they would implement, but I almost feel like it's too boring that they wouldn't do it.
Maybe we could use a couple boring ancient cards, just to kind of fill out the card pool.
But yeah, I think that would be good as so that every color at least has a way to deal with turn 1 Lizard Barbarian. It's just that's how so many games are lost. It's just like, well, I didn't have any way to stop 1-drop 2-drop, 3-drop. And it's not even like in terms of rage, it even kills like it doesn't even kill their 2 or 3 drop, their usual 2 or 3 drop, their preferred 2 or 3 drop. It still only kills the 1 drop. It kills Order's 2 drop, which is one of the reasons why Noxious is good, is because you can at least get up tempo on it. But yeah, that's kind of like, I feel like Fire Blast and Fire Blast is a good sweeper, and Holy Radiance is an amazing sweeper if you're in the colors, and Word of Pain is basically the better Suffocate, but not as big. But
it's pretty insane, I have to say.
But I think if you were able to limit like the early game of some of these decks like Soldiers, that you would be able to you'd be better able to contain them. Because even though your 1-for-1s aren't going to be good against when they start playing tokens, like at least you don't have an overwhelming board of Soldiers that's getting buffed by Tactician. You picked off 1 or 2 of them along the way.
Yeah, again, it goes back to the whole more comeback cards idea. Because 1 mana deal 2 damage to a creature is clearly a comeback card. Well, more or less.
It's not proactive. It's reactive.
Right.
It's interactive. It's looking to be interactive, or it's looking to stop your opponent from
killing you. That would be a good idea.
On turn 1, or starting to kill you on turn 1. But yeah, but that's kind of how I feel about it.
No, I think that's totally fine. I never liked the idea of aggressive 1-drops in any game. I think they're just like, I mean, if you want to, okay, I mean, we're gonna veer off a little bit to other games. You know what was voted the most powerful card in Hearthstone ever printed?
The patches?
No, Tunnel Trog.
Okay, I don't know this one.
Oh, it's a 1 mana 1/3. It gains attack equal to whatever you overload.
That's right. That's what it is. It's like Mana Worm, but for the overload version.
Yeah, but even
Yeah.
stupider. See, that's just a general rule. 1-drops can't be game-winning cards, or at least not on turn 1. Like, I've had an idea of how to redesign something like Mana Worm to be like actually interesting, and it would be a 0/3. But it would, when it comes into play, it would gain attack equal to the cost of the last spell you played. So it could be a 10/3, but you have to wait till turn 10. It's a lot less scary then.
That's true. But then you run into the issue of like, if it gets the late enough game, then I guess no. You just play it. You'd have to play in more the middle game, where you play like a 2 or 3 mana thing, and then you get a discount 1-drop, but it's on turn whatever. Right. I mean, the tricky thing is that in these kinds of games is that as you get along, like the stats start mattering. At the farther you get along in a particular game, the stats start mattering less. They matter a lot in the beginning, but then when you start getting more and more powerful effects, you start getting more and more unconditional removal effects, and your stats only really matter in terms of like, okay, what kind of clock do I have on the opponent?
Well, it depends on the removal. If it is hard removal, then sure, but if it's damage-based removal, then it still matters. Now, if I have 10 health instead of 7, you know, if you have a card that deals, I don't know, 7 damage, you get the idea. But then the late game card are supposed to have like effects that accompany their stats. It's not just stats, like 10 mana, 10/10 or something like that. Anyways, I think pretty much everyone is left.
Yeah, that's probably true.
We've been kind of yammering on for a while now.
Yeah, an hour and a half. Wow. I wasn't expecting this to happen, but
yeah, it happens.
I needed to chill anyway after winning. That's just really exciting.
Nice hat trick. Take home $251.
Yeah.
Get yourself something nice.
I'll think about it. But thanks for having me, and it was fun talking about ideas and old cards and
Oh
whatnot.
yeah, anytime.
All right. See you later.
Goodbye, and we'll see you guys next month.
Yep.